everyone, and welcome back to Book Review of the Vampire, where my friend Leonora and I go through, so far, the first two books of the Anne Rice Vampire Chronicles. Good evening, Leonora.
Hello.
You don't sound like much of a vampire.
Hello.
All right, that's marginally better. Good evening to you in the chat who are joining us this evening. Noah Asensio, hello. Random American, hello. Mr. Yes, hello. Anthem Ward, hello. Blakester, hello. Ostsan, hello. And for anybody who is lurking or anybody in the future, hello. So we are at the end. It's the end of the world as we know it. The last two sections of the Vampire Lestat, those being the epilogue, which is not really the epilogue because there's two epilogues, but epilogue, Interview with the Vampire. And then after that, Dionysus in San Francisco, 1985, which is about as pretentious as it should be interpreted to be. Let's see. So in the first section of this Interview with the Vampire, we get a very brief summary from Lestat with all of the liner notes of the events that took place in Interview with the Vampire.
Right.
Basically, with Lestat saying, hey, you know all those people that I murdered in front of Louis and everything that shocked him so much? Yeah, well, they were all bad people anyway, so it was okay.
Mm-hmm.
The landowner guy, Lafreniere or whatever, and then the two prostitutes that I slaughtered in front of him. Yeah, I mean, they robbed some people and killed a couple people, so murdering them was fine. I didn't tell Louis any of that, you know. And he never mentions his father. That was the one part in here that I thought we'd find out more about. Like when he got to New Orleans and had to live with his father again, I thought we'd hear something about his relationship or reuniting with his father. Never did, though. Never mentioned him.
Well, there's a lot of loose ends and weird parts that does not make sense.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, excuse me. Real quick over in the chat before it goes away. Alan Thyler, thank you so much for the super chat, the $5. Thank you. Hope you're having a good evening and enjoy what you're hearing, such as it is. So yeah, Interview with the Vampire. I tried to find something out of here that was interesting to me, but it just came across as Lestat giving apologetics for himself. Now, the one element that I did find kind of interesting is he filled in the blanks sort of how he got to Europe and ended up back at the Theater of Vampires before Louis got there and everything, and his healing process and his inability to heal after all the damage that Louis and Claudia had done, and how he went off to part of the reason they went off to find Armand in the first place was that he needed his powerful blood to heal. And so he's begging. Like, and this is the funny thing is, like, Lestat to this point, he had absolutely no problem. Just what's so funny?
Well, it's that I thought that you were going to say like, and again, he gets like super friend zoned again.
Well, yeah, there's that too, but in this instance, and he deserves it though, as Armand kind of tells him. But here's the thing: for like 100 years, Lestat has absolutely no problem just slipping on a banana peel and falling over giant super elders. Like he finds, yeah, I mean, he finds Armand, he finds all these vampires when he's going across the world with his mother, and then he just, stumbles upon Marius, and then Akasha, on and on and on and on and on, and then just when he needs them, he just can't find anybody. Like, oh, I'm so injured and everything else, and I know like all these different elders and things. I could call Marius, but I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want him to think of me as a failure. Well, that didn't really seem to
he
bug
did
him.
Everything that Marius told him not to do. So
well, there's that too.
Jesus.
Except that if I read the tea leaves correctly, I don't think Marius would do anything other than forgive him his trespasses.
Correct.
Because I mean, compared to Marius, Lestat is a baby.
Mm-hmm.
And remember, Lestat ate a baby, so none of this really makes me feel all that sorry for Lestat.
Of course.
But yeah, so yeah, Lestat's little trials and tribulations of having to try to heal from the damage that Claudia did to him with the fire and everything in New Orleans, him hiding out and sort of slowly getting himself to a point where he could go out in public again, and then making his way across to Europe, and then going to Armand and being like, please, Armand, I need your blood. And Armand's like, haha, no.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. It's like, no, that's not going to happen. You didn't listen to me. Gabrielle did exactly what I said she was going to do. You left me here like this. I had to fend for myself. You helped destroy my covenant. Remember that part where you walked in and screwed up everything? Yeah. I mean, you gave me the theater and everything else, but you completely destroyed everything that I'd built up for hundreds of years with your arrogance and everything. So no. Now you're just going to have to fend for yourself. And so then Lestat just sort of decides to sink into the earth for all those decades or whatever, and heal and heal and heal. And then we get to the beginning of the book again, where he becomes Mr. Rockstar. Any thoughts otherwise on the interview with the vampire section?
No, apart from poor Armand, because yeah, in the end he goes like, no, I'm not gonna help you, and just leave. But like in the beginning when they first met, like in this part, he was super willing, but he thought that Lestat had come back because he wanted to be with him.
Right.
And only after Lestat goes, no, I just want your blood and I will be out of here. Like I'm not interested. So
yeah, Lestat was looking for a booty call.
The audacity.
Yeah, Lestat shows up looking for a booty call, not for a relationship, and Armand's like, oh, excuse me?
Yeah.
But still, yes. Oh, everybody wants Lestat, just like everybody wants Louis. Oh, Louis, stay with me. Louis this, Louis that.
Yeah.
I'm wondering now if since Armand then had an understanding of the relationship between Louis and Lestat, if he didn't decide to go after Louis in revenge against Lestat. Like, look, you want Louis, but you can't have him. I got him. I wonder if it was just sort of a bitch fight move in some way, shape, or form. I think I think that would be appropriate. I think that would be an appropriate sort of little vengeance on Armand's part if he decides to steal Lestat's boyfriend. So yeah, we get interviewed. And the other thing too is that there was not any, not that I really saw, not any regrets or guilt over Claudia. Just that he got caught more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Like he kept Claudia's age away from Armand as long as he could.
Yeah.
And then Armand's like, yeah, well, we've seen them around town, and she's a child, Lestat. Oh. I was like, well, yeah. What happened to that whole mind reading thing that you used to be able to do to other vampires, Lestat? I mean, that seemed to disappear off the face of the earth. And besides which, you know Armand can read minds. Why the hell are you trying to lie to him?
Yeah.
Like again, Anne Rice's rules of the road don't seem to apply, and then suddenly it just doesn't make it. It's like, and why would Armand even need to know that they were around town? He could just read Lestat. I just wanted to say, Lestat, I can see the images in your mind. She's a child. What were you thinking? Oh, but no, it wasn't that. Just like, no, I caught you red-handed. We found him around town. Like, oh. So anyway, so yeah, that was interesting. And then we get to the most jam-packed, rushed. This should have been the beginning of another book, not the end of a book. Cameos abound in Dionysus in San Francisco, 1985, where we are on the eve, effectively, of Lestat's big coming out concert in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Where he's with his band, and he's getting ready to go out on stage and start singing stuff that's going to give away vampire secrets and this, that, and the other. And it's later on in the section, but I got to say, Anne Rice is terrible at song lyrics. There was I had some sort of notion, and I don't know where I got this. I had some sort of notion that the lead singer of Korn, I forget what his name is, when he worked on the soundtrack for the Queen of the Damned movie, I was under some impression that he had actually taken lyrics or things from this book and worked them into the songs he wrote and composed for that movie.
Okay.
And that somehow he's able to take Anne Rice's words and make them more music. No, I was wrong. I get to the part where we get to the lyrics of the song, and I'm like, this is terrible.
You wanted Jonathan Davis to do miracles, or what?
Yeah, I guess so. I thought that he had, like I said, some headcanon of mine up until I got to this part in the book. I had thought that he had taken, because I remember reading this a long time ago, and I remember that there were song lyrics in the book. I just can't remember what they were. But part of me thought that he had actually integrated the things Anne Rice had written into the lyrics of the songs, but no. And I can see
and you're
why.
Thankful for it.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, maybe there's a way to turn some of this into something decent-ish. I don't know, but either way, yeah. So Lestat is hanging out at his super duper rented mansion or whatever.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a figure comes from the background. I think landing from a helicopter. I couldn't get that. I could get quite clear. Like a helicopter landed outside and Louis walks out. Or did he just appear out of nowhere? Because Lestat was talking about a helicopter, and I couldn't tell if he was talking about like it landed on his property or he was just witnessing a helicopter off in the distance.
I think he just appears.
Yeah. Like anyway, a figure appears at the back door, and even though he takes a long time to tell us who it is, we already know who it is.
Of course.
And it shows, and it's Louis. It's like, oh my God, just Louis decides to show up out of nowhere. It's like, oh yeah, so it's so good to see. I mean, Lestat chased Louis in one way, shape, or form across time, space, and the globe, and then Louis just kind of shows up, and it's kind of like, hey, how's it going?
Yeah.
There's no like hug or like what's been going on with you or anything. And then, of all people, Louis starts warning Lestat against doing this concert. And I'm like, bitch, you wrote a whole book. Like, what are you warning him about? You started this effectively, right? You already spilled the beans. You already broke all the rules. The rules that Armand and everybody told you back in Paris. You said, to hell with it. I'm going to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
And so what are you warning him against? Like, what was the downfall for you? You must have some notion of why Lestat is doing this if you did it yourself to warn him off of it. Unless you've got some story of, oh, I did this, and then all the vampires came along and cut my toes off or something. I don't know. But he starts telling us, oh yeah, you might not want to do this and everything else. Lestat, now I'm going to do it. And I keep thinking, like, why? Like, what is Lestat gaining here? I still don't understand his motivation for wanting to expose vampires. Like, what did they do to him? Everywhere he went, they were accommodating. They were all lusting over him. They gave him everything he wanted. And then he just decided to go against all the advice he was given and did stupid things anyway. And then he built his own bed. So now he's going to throw a hissy fit. Why? Do you get it? Because I don't get it.
I just think that he wants to be famous. Like he needs, like, like that, like the applause and the recognition of the people. And sadly he is a vampire. I think that's the part that he just wants notoriety, and that's a cool way to be noted, I guess.
Yeah, except the flip side of it though is, if all the other vampires in the world, all the super duper psychic vampires, if Marius and Akasha and Osiris and Pan, if everybody's so like mentally connected one way or the other, knows what's going on a million miles away and all this, and if keeping vampires as a secret is such a big deal, why is Lestat still alive? Why wait until the night of the concert to make a move on the guy?
Because they weren't able to find him.
That doesn't make any sense.
Well, I don't know if it makes any sense or not, but Louis
How did Louis find him?
Like, he tells him, like, it was very difficult to find you.
Yeah, but Louis is a baby compared to so many of the other vampires, but he's able to find Lestat.
I you're not understanding. It is
You're
difficult,
right.
and it was difficult, and that's it.
Oh, okay.
Don't
It was
fight it.
difficult. It was difficult for
Yes.
some, but not for others.
Yes.
Okay.
And it
And
was easier to send him like a voice message, like a threat, a voice message instead of finding him.
Even though Lestat and his band had obviously gotten enough notoriety prior to this to even drum up attention for this big concert in San Francisco, because they've been operating in New Orleans for a while.
Yes.
But he's just very difficult to find.
Yes.
Even though it's been at least a year or something since he got out of the ground and started his band.
Yes. You don't know.
Using his real name as the band name. It's just very difficult. I mean, there's not like concert dates that have been advertised in the year prior to this with, let's say, the vampire Lestat on them.
Well, no, I think that's the first time that they will, like, they were going to play live.
That doesn't make any sense. They've been doing radio play this whole time.
Yes, they've been like doing like the music videos, and I think like something like a movie or a documentary or whatever, and the radio, and all that sort of things. But no, not live. Anything live, not yet.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's how it actually works, but
well, it is how it works in Anne Rice's video. Book. So
anyway, so Louis haphazardly tries to talk Lestat out of it. Lestat's like, "No, I'm going to do it
because I want to be famous.
Because I want to be famous. Because I want to, put a middle finger to all the big vampires out there, all the ones that I like tried to hunt down and were like, simping over for 100 years and." I'm just begging for them to like love me and everything. Hell with them.
And the thing is that he's doing the exact same thing that he did with the Coven.
How do you mean?
Don't you think? Like, when he's
trying to
like
pull them into the modern day kind of thing, pull them out of the
darkness. Yeah, I mean, he's doing like this exact same thing. Like, come, you can go into the church and nothing happens. Come, you can do this thing and we will be fine. Like he's doing the exact same thing. At least that was my feeling. Like he's doing everything over again. We know this part already. Yeah,
and I got to tell you, and I'll go into the details here in a second. But by the end of this, I don't like Lestat as a character. I just don't like him. He's obnoxious to me at this point. Like I know Anne Rice has effectively tried to turn him into her chief protagonist, sort of main character, superhero guy kind of thing throughout these books or whatever. But by the end of this book, I'm just like, dude, at every turn where you're given the opportunity for something, it's not like Lestat is an anti-hero that I can kind of, love to see get away with stuff. Like when I think of it like an anti-hero, I think of like the perfect anti-hero in my head is like the Punisher, right?
Yeah.
He does terrible things, but you understand his motivation and you can sympathize with him to a degree, and you can almost put yourself in his shoes, depending on. Lestat's nothing like that.
No, he's just a dumb rebel and he's a narcissist.
Yeah, he's a selfish, self-centered jerkwad who won't listen to reason and does everything he wants to do and gets away with it without any real... I mean, as far as I can tell, the only real consequence he's ever faced to anything at this point is Claudia. That's it. Yeah. Everything else has just been sort of like, I'm going to go bury myself in the dirt for a little while. Oh, Marius. Oh, Marius, your rules are so stupid. I'm going to go play the violin for Akasha. Oh, I almost got my head crushed. Oh, that's okay. I just go back at it. It's like, come on.
Yeah.
Jeez, it's like, come on. Anyway, so he goes to his concert and he does his concert with his crappy lyrics. which I mean, they're not even like, I realized that this book was written at a time before, the real goth punk scene really started. And you had that still sort of pseudo proto The Cure kind of emo kind of music. Just it hadn't really come out yet or just starting to. But really, I mean, Anne
You should read
Rice.
some to us.
Oh, okay. Yes. All right. Here we go. Let's see. So these are lyrics. These are lyrics from this thing. Okay. I am the vampire Lestat. I can't sing them. I could try to sing them. You want me to try to sing them?
If you want to, if you just read them, it's equal as terrible.
I'll try to do my best. Like, I'll try to do Crook Shadows or like typo negative kind of thing. I am the vampire Lestat. You are here for the grand Sabbat. But I pity you, your lot. You can't resist the lords of the night. They have no mercy on your plight. In your fear they take delight. How's that?
Oh, Jesus.
You like that? Did I cut out too much there?
No.
Okay. Yet in love we will take you, and in rapture we'll break you, and in death we'll release you. No one can say that you were not warned. And then probably the worst part, I'm just going to read this part because I can't sing this shit. This is the age of innocence, true innocence. All your demons are visible. All your demons are material. Call them pain. Call them hunger. Call them war. Mythic evil you don't need anymore. Drive out the vampires and the devils with the gods you no longer adore. Remember, the man with the fangs wears a cloak. What passes for charm is a charm. Understand what you see when you see me. Kill us, my brothers and sisters. The war is on. Understand what you see when you see me. So he does his little concert dance, song and dance kind of thing. And then he's attacked by all the vampires.
Yes.
And then he's saved by Claudia. Or, sorry, not Claudia,
No.
Gabrielle, pardon me.
The best character ever.
Yeah, Gabrielle, who has disappeared into the darkness of all ages and time and everything. Only now she decides to suddenly make an appearance, and she's all dressed up, and she's driving a car right next to Lestat as he's driving a car as he's trying to get away from the vampires coming after him. And then everything crashes. There's a big crash. And is that they crash their cars? Lestat like crawls out. And then there's somebody else there. And who else is there? Akasha.
Yeah, because when Louis and Gabrielle and Lestat are trying to escape on Lestat's car, another mystical force that it's not any of them helps them with the ones that are following them. And at first they think, oh, well, at least Lestat thinks it's Marius, but then he goes like, no, it's more powerful.
Well, actually, some of the vampires chasing him light on fire all of a sudden. You remember that
Yes.
part? Yeah,
yes,
because
exactly.
Akasha just kind of like says, no, you can't touch my pool boy. And she just like lights them on fire, and then they try to escape, and then they're stopped, and then there's Akasha there. And then we cut to black. We're at the end of the book. So in a matter of like 15 pages, we have Louis show up, Gabrielle show up, Akasha show up. We have a concert. I mean, all this stuff happens so fast.
It's a great part. It's a great part.
It?
I liked it.
I thought it was way too much to close off the book with. I thought it was too much too soon. I thought Anne Rice was just getting greedy. She should have stopped with the interview with the vampire thing. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if she got greedy, but let me tell you, probably you're gonna kill me for this, but that last part made me want to read the next book. And I think that was her intention, and she...
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yeah, I fell for it.
Well, I read it, and I thought this is just another example of her rushing to the end and packing way too much. I mean, it reminded me a lot of the Marius origin story. It's like there's so much going on here. The build up to the concert itself, the attack of that could have been a good section of a whole book, rather than just this little bit right here. And so it felt rushed. It felt too much, too quick. There's so much going on. And yeah, so it wasn't terrible for what it was, but again, just like with so many other things, it belonged in its own thing. It's too much to just use as an exit for this book, I thought. So, but anyway, that's where we're at. So Lestat is now reunited with his mother for the last 5 minutes of the books of things, and Louis, and Akasha. Now, how did Gabrielle learn about Lestat from wherever she was and get across the... Who knows? How did Louis find Lestat when none of the other vampires could, who are obviously intent on killing him? Who knows?
MTV was everywhere.
How did Akasha decide to finally get up and move? Where's her husband? How did Marius let her out of his sight? On and on. Who knows? She teleported.
Well, we don't know that. We only know that Marius sent him like this, mind messages, like she escaped. She is escaped.
Did he say that? I thought it was just like this Lestat danger. I thought that was the only mental message he got.
No, did
I miss that part?
He got like chopped messages from Marius.
Or who he assumes is Marius. Oh, yeah, I see. Yeah. Okay. Danger, Lestat. All of us are in danger. She has. I cannot. Buried in ice. She has helped me. All of us. Danger. She has. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So, and the center of the universe, of course, is still Lestat. All these people are here for him.
Of course.
Louis here for him. Gabrielle's here for him. All the vampires are there to kill him. Akasha's there for him. Marius tries to warn him.
He's a super rock star, so all the humanity is.
Yeah. I'll tell you, like I say, by the end of this, I'm kind of sick of Lestat. I don't particularly like him. I don't have fun reading about him. His trials and tribulations kind of irritate me, honestly. Maybe that's just inevitable for vampires or something. Maybe no vampire has any redeeming qualities at the end of the day. I don't know.
You hate him because he ate a baby.
I think that's a justifiable reason to hate a person. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I could find few rational people who would have a problem with hating someone if they ate a baby. I don't know. Maybe just me.
That's where I draw my line.
Well, I think it's, if I had to draw at least a line, that's probably a pretty good line.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. Now, I don't know about you. You might be on a different level of philosophy than me. Well, but here's the thing that actually irritates me more than anything else. The character we meet at the beginning of the book, I really liked. Like here's this sort of like dour, caught up in his own obligation. But he goes out there and he takes care of business. The villagers say, "Oh, we're being attacked by wolves," and he's like, "This is my responsibility." So he shoulders up his rifles and gets his horse ready and his attack dogs and everything. He goes up there, he takes care of business, and without any other context, he comes pretty close to getting himself killed.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't a superhero. There were things that he screwed up on and got himself almost ripped apart by wolves. But I was like, that's a character I kind of like. And then over the course of the book, he just became an absolute sniveling, self-centered, narcissistic jerkwad. I'm like, I at this point, I wouldn't mind if the vampires caught you and killed you. Let's move on to somebody more interesting, because You're done. He's had 17 bites at the apple when it comes to learning about vampires or finding a mentor or whatever else. He spends 2 seconds with them and goes like, I'm bored, I'm moving on. Like, okay, you think you Mr. Know-It-All? It's like, anyway. Not a fan. Not a fan.
Yeah, he turns out to be like a completely different character, and you would like like assume that they keep in a certain way some characteristics, but well, you see the thing is that every character that it's turned into a vampire changes.
Well, no, I get that.
Gabrielle does it like she radically changes.
Well, like, in Gabrielle's case, I think that she no longer had any reason to keep up a facade. Her death and her revitalization, it's like, now I'm free. I mean, I think all that happened with Gabrielle is that she was allowed to be her true self, that everything before that was just play acting. So in that sense, and you could feel that she was bound in by her obligations to her family and her position and her aristocracy, and now she no longer had to be that way. So in that sense, her arc was probably one of the most clear and logical character progressions that I saw. As far as Lestat's concerned, I mean, sure, yeah, becoming a vampire is going to change you, obviously, but by the end of the book, he's making excuses for his evil. He's not. I mean, they talk about in the first book and in this one about being the evil and what kind of evil for this age and everything. Well, dude, if you're the evil that this age needs, why are you correcting Louis and making up excuses as to why it was okay to kill those people? Oh, they were bad people. Well, why waste the time to try to rationalize it? If they were bad people, if they were good people, you ate a baby. You don't have any excuses anymore. No, seriously. I mean, if you're gonna be a amoral killing machine who just sees people as food, and this is just the way it is because I'm a vampire, why does he spend any time in the interview section correcting Louis on, well, he thought it was horrible, but really they were bad people? It's like, dude, if you're the hunter, if you are the wolf hunter, you do what needs to be done because it needs to be done, and then you move on with your life. You don't just sit there and try to justify it to other people or make excuses. If he would just own what he is more than try to walk this line between it in some weird way, like he's fooling anybody, maybe I'd like him better. But this isn't a judgment that somebody else is putting on him. These are his internal thoughts to us. So he wants us, the reader, to think, oh, well, I may be a killing machine, but I'm a moral killing machine. Like, come on, stop it. It's just like, no. Like, so yeah, the character that we meet at the beginning, he becomes less admirable over the course of the book, in my mind, at least. Well, yeah, with that yawn, I can tell we're done. Oh. I'm right?
Yeah, like in this sense, yeah, you're right. And he ends up being insufferable. So yes, and we complain a lot about Louis, that he was like like a wimp and always complaining and always
he was a wimp and complaining, but at least his morals were consistent.
Yeah, totally.
That was the thing. At least his character didn't waver in his struggle with his morality. And when he did something wrong, he owned it. Yeah. And he didn't try. I mean, he might have fretted over it after the fact. He may have come to a certain amount of acceptance about it. But that's something at least admirable, that he's not still trying to justify himself or make excuses. Whereas Lestat does, and it just there's a portrayal of an ancient vampire in a movie that I like. It's called The Addiction. It's a black and white, kind of very artsy movie, I think from like 1995. And it stars Lily Taylor, and there's a bit part in the movie, and I don't even know if it's credited, but it's a cameo by Christopher Walken. And I think, as far as I know, it's the only movie in which Christopher Walken ever plays a vampire. and he plays this elder vampire that the main character comes across and actually becomes a victim of. And he plays the best elder vampire sort of character you could imagine, because he's very straightforward. He doesn't go into dramatics or anything. He talks to the person in very flat tones and just tells them, like, yeah, this is this. And this younger vampire is trying to understand, like, what is he? How old is he? How do you operate? And it's, as far as I'm concerned, it's perfect. It's absolutely the perfect embodiment of what a old, thoughtful, introspective, non-human creature would have become at this point, to still operate in human society, but know and accept exactly what he is, without apologies, without sort of hesitation. And so that's sort of in my mind the standard. Marius came close-ish, except he was far too poetic and romantic about everything.
Okay.
But as far as that goes, yeah, Lestat just, you talk about somebody who had a very keen sense of his own abilities and place in the world, and then he becomes a vampire, and just suddenly now he's, yeah, I don't, like I say, it's like watching someone grow backwards in maturity in a way. And yeah. So anyway, I guess that's all I have to say about that. Any other thoughts on let's see, let's do a sort of overall review. Compared to Interview with the Vampire, this one was much more cleanly structured than Interview with the Vampire, at least as far as like chapter breaks and things. So that was nice. Writing quality, it was more consistently readable than a lot of passages and a lot of sections in Interview, I thought. Although I did find myself at certain times starting to drift, because Anne Rice would start going off into La La Land with all of her pages of description and extra words and things that really didn't move the plot along or tell us anything we really needed to know. And so I kind of skimmed over till we got back to the conversation that was taking place 2 pages back that really wanted to get back to. I think the book was at its strongest in the first half, like up until the point where they have their meeting with Armand. I thought all the way up through that was pretty strong. And then as soon as they go off into the rest of the world and start doing their world traveling and everything, it started to get a little muddy in places.
Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But and like I say, there were sections in here between Marius's origin and the last section that really didn't belong, as they could have been alluded to and made into their own books, or at least their own sections in other books. Especially Marius's story. Marius's story really should have been its own, like the Vampire Marius or something. It really should have been. He could have alluded to or hinted at his past and things, and we didn't need to get the full meal deal right there, and that could have been its own book. And probably a really interesting one, especially if she'd done enough research on like ancient Rome and stuff, and really set that era and taken us back to that kind of territory. And like I said in the last episode, the politics of Rome at the time and all the kind of different things you could have done with that. So I like this book better than Interview with the Vampire insofar as its structure and its writing quality. But as whiny and irritating as Louis was, the character of Lestat is one that I grew to dislike more and more over the. If that was her intent, she succeeded, but that's not what I feel like her intention was. So that's my summary between the two. What about you?
Yes, I enjoyed this book more than the first one. I mean, I think the difference the biggest difference that I can find is that the first one is like so linear, like it just tells the story from, start to finish, and there's no, like jumping around things. And in this one, you have like, like a lot of jumps, just going into the past and the future and then and now, and a lot of different characters that makes you like really almost have like a notebook on the side, so you can start writing who goes with what and where, and but I enjoyed the parts that were more dynamic, that the first one does not have. So yeah, even though Lestat is, a narcissist, and probably, yeah, you end up hating him, I enjoyed this one better.
I think the strongest parts of this book were the relationships Lestat establishes with characters that last more than a couple of chapters.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lestat and Nikki. Lestat and his mother especially. I mean, once Lestat and his mother are both vampires and they're like a dynamic duo,
Mm-hmm.
and they're playing off of each other through looks and glances and things when they're interacting with the other vampires or Armand and
Yeah.
things. All that stuff's really good. I really like that stuff. And the time that we spend getting to know how Gabrielle operates versus her son, especially up to the point where they finally depart one another. The time that Anne Rice takes to establish those relationships and have those interactions and really show the differences between these characters, that's the strongest part. These fly by night instances where it's like we meet Armand and then we're done with him, and then we meet Marius and then we're done with him. Yeah, okay, it makes me a little curious about those characters more so, but since I'm seeing this entire thing from the perspective of Lestat, it's like he's got vampire ADHD and he's done, and so I guess I don't have to worry about it either for the rest of the book.
Yeah.
I mean, now it does have a little bit of a payoff when Lestat goes begging to Armand and somebody's like, "Oh, suddenly I'm important to you again." That part was kind of funny. So at least as Anne Rice was a little self-aware of how she'd left the relationship between the two.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, just like with the first book, everybody and their brother falling over and in love with the, "Oh, Louis, I must have you. Oh, Louis, I love you. Oh, Lestat, your golden hair and your pale skin. Oh, and you're so forward thinking, Lestat. Oh, please be my boyfriend." It's just like, good God. Just, can even vampires have normal relationships? Just slightly, a little? Like, can you just like a person and not like just have to fawn yourself all over them all the time? Like, oh my God. Another thing I didn't really like so much is that they kept talking about their hearts beating and breathing and all. I'm like, you're dead. You're supposed to be vampires. Why are you talking about your heart beating? Why are you talking about signs of life and everything? Vampires in this universe apparently have beating hearts and can breathe, and it's like, what? You're just human plus. That's all I got out of this. Human plus. What?
Vampires are people too.
Lestat ate a baby. Anyway, I think we'll call it there. So yeah, better than the last one in a lot of ways.
Yes.
But also, I think showing a lot of Anne Rice still honing her craft in some ways of telling a story. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as what happens next, I think we're going to take at least a week off to sort of rest our brains for a little bit. And then we'll have to discuss what book we're going to do next. We may or may not do the next book in the vampire series. We might take a break from the vampire series for a bit. I don't know. I will discuss that with Leonora. Any final thoughts before we depart?
No.
I do have a couple of other vampire book recommendations for people out there if you're curious. If you like action, you can't go wrong with John Steakley's Vampires with a $sign for the S. That was the book that inspired the John Carpenter film Vampires. The book is much, much different than the movie. Character names are similar, obviously, and some events are similar, but it's a much different book with a much darker, much more action-oriented outcome. Another one I would recommend is called The Lesser Dead by God, what's his first name? I think it's John Buellman or Matthew Buellman. It's something like Buellman, Beuellman. HLMAN. Anyway, The Lesser Dead. It's a one shot. It's not part of a series. And it focuses on some more modern vampires living in New York City. It's a much different tone and telling from it's sort of like Vampire Lestat in the sense that it's told from a first person perspective, but it's a much different situation and dynamic between the characters, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. So look for The Lesser Dead. Christopher Buell, I think it's Christopher Buellman, pardon me, I think it's Christopher Buellman, and John Steakley's Vampires. Two vampire books, effectively from two different genres, and give those a look and see what you think. Anyway, with that, everybody, we're going to call it here. In about 15 minutes, I am going to be over on the Midnight's Edge After Dark channel doing a countdown of the worst movie disasters / mistakes ever, along with the various panelists' own selections for that kind of subject matter. So if you're curious about that, go check out Midnight's Edge After Dark at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, where Tom Connors and crew, including myself, will go over another countdown list. Beyond that, next Thursday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern, TED Excellence, where I'll again do another off-brand TED Talk for education and information. I call it Invitation. Sure. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. I suppose I should mention, as I forgot to do at the top of the chat, or top of the show, the fundraisers at the top of the chat box. That's what I meant to say. Up there, you guys, you'll find some fundraisers for our friends Maddie and Angry Illinoisan, and as well for a true crime content creator, Morbid Curiosity, who's currently in the hospital dealing with pneumonia, which is obviously no fun. And last I heard, he was in pretty bad way, but hopefully he's on the road to recovery. The problem is that he found out he didn't have health insurance when he needed it. So please take a look at those and donate if you can. If you can't donate, that's fine. But if you can, share those out on social media, that would be appreciated. Also, I have a Discord server. Link to the Discord's in the chat. In addition to clicking on the Discord link and finding yourself on the Say Hello landing channel, by saying hello, you also have to give the secret word. The secret word tells me and my moderators that you actually watch the show and can earn your right to become a member of the Discord. Leonora, what's the secret word for today? I don't know. That's the secret passphrase for today, guys. So just
Rockstar.
Say hello. Oh, Rockstar. Okay. Not the energy drink, but if that's the way you go, fine. So Rockstar, say hello and Rockstar, and you can join the Discord.
Yes.
But otherwise, everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the fundraisers at the top of the chat box, thank you for your generosity. It is very much appreciated. Everyone, hope you have a good rest of your Sunday and your week ahead of you. Leonora, thank you for joining me, as always.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Everyone, I hope you're all safe and well. If you are not well, please get well soon, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.